Hi everyone, welcome back. I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about our major assignment in this class, which is the Universally Designed Lesson Plan, also known as the UDLP. So as you'll see, I'm on our main page of Blackboard, and for your UDLP assignment, you'll go to two different places, your UDLP teams, which you've all signed up for, thank you, and assignments, and then UDLP ongoing. So the Universally Designed Lesson Plan, like I said in my welcome video last week, is just a different way to plan lessons using backward design, which will be one of our modules that will explain all of that. And I've essentially just chunked the School of Ed lesson plan week by week by the different modules into manageable parts so you're not just learning the whole lesson plan all together. So I hope this helps you as you progress throughout the professional program when you're writing a whole lot of lesson plans for me. Every module for every week corresponds to the part that's due on the UDLP. So my best, most helpful advice is to make sure you're doing the modules before you even start the UDLP part that week, because it's all aligned. I hope it makes sense in that way. But if I go here to UDLP ongoing, you'll notice there's a lot of information and a lot of rubrics. The first thing I want you to download is Universally Designed Lesson Plan Steps, which looks like this. Let me get it. Okay, so this is how your UDLP is actually set up. If I were you, I would download this document and save it to your computer. You can use this document every week and just upload this document every single week for feedback. So you'll notice on the first page, this is an individual assignment, meaning, yes, you're in UDLP teams, but you're not writing a team lesson plan. You're each writing lesson plans and you're getting feedback from everyone on your team, but you're not writing just one lesson plan as a team. You are all writing a lesson plan and you're getting feedback from your team. All of these parts, so you'll notice on the course calendar, it'll say like UDLP part 1 due. They're due, the drafts of your parts are due Thursday nights, and then your team will provide feedback, and I will provide feedback by the end of every weekend. So that's kind of how we'll go about this. You'll submit something on Thursday, we'll all look at it by the end of the weekend. And I do that, y'all, one, to give you the weekend, but two, if you don't want to work the weekends, you can do it on Fridays, and everybody still has enough time. So if I work my way down this document, you'll see like this means UDLP part 1. So when you see that on the course calendar, you're just doing this section of the UDLP. So it says select your topic and the standard you wish to address in your lesson. This lesson can be any grade level, any topic. I really just want you to pick something you're going to enjoy thinking about, maybe a topic that you remember in school that you enjoyed very much. You don't need to pick like the most challenging thing for this. We'll get there in later courses when you get to the professional program. Pick something fun, and that's going to keep your interest for 8 weeks. You're going to pick your standard, and you'll notice I've hyperlinked things in this document. So here are all your standards. You would just click the ones that I'm hovering over for whatever you want to pick. You will literally just copy and paste that standard here. What I suggest is you just pick one. So you'll see in the module I teach you how to read the standards. But if I go to ELA, for instance, I'm going to pick that one. Let's just do the first one. I'm not going to pick this entire thing. You're not going to do an entire standard and all the indicators in one lesson. I might just say that one, and they still might not master it all in one lesson. It might be more of like a week thing. So just be mindful. I'm not expecting the lesson plan to be week long. I really am just meaning for it to be one standalone lesson. If you pick a lesson a standard that's in like the lower primary grades, like K1 or 2, then you probably want like a 25-minute, 30-minute lesson. If you're picking like a 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade standard, I'd probably pick 45 minutes to 60-minute lessons. Middle school, about an hour lesson. High school standards, I would plan for 60 to 90 minutes, okay? And that, you'll get fluent with that as you progress through the professional program, determining how long a lesson will take. So don't really stress about that now. Just guess at this point. And then you're going to describe the skills that you think that the students are going to already need to know to have access to your lesson for skills reviewed. So what if they're learning left to right, how to read left to right, then they probably need to already know what a book is, and that books are things you read. Skills taught in your lesson. So what are the standards actually mean? What are the main concepts your students are going to get out of it? So that's literally all of part 1. Okay, you're going to pick a standard that's fun. You're going to copy and paste it. You're going to tell me the skills you think that they should already know and the skills you think you're going to teach them. Okay, again, all of these are drafts. I give you feedback and so does your team. For part 2, so when part 2 is due, the module is about assessments that week. So you need to do the modules before you even start this. These boxes are considerations as you plan. I mean that literally. You don't need to necessarily answer all of these questions explicitly. They're just to kind of get you thinking. For the assessment section, you're going to determine how you're going to pre-assess knowledge, how you're going to formatively assess. Again, do the modules for these vocabulary words. And what is your summative or post-assessment? Okay. And you're just going to describe them. It would be really nice to have some sample questions or format. Also tell me here how you're going to administer it. Like, is this whole group assessments, meaning you're just giving them directions and the students are doing it independently, whole group? Are you working one-on-one with the student during these times? Part 3 is lesson objective. So you're going to write a lesson objective using the formula discussed in the module for the whole class here. So this, just to give you a little hint already, this must be aligned to your summative assessment, okay? And it will help you, and the module will explain all of that. Then for part 4, you're going to actually pick case study students. And to do that, you're going to go back to Blackboard. Uh-oh, have I lost it? Let me go back. Uh-oh. Going to go back to Blackboard for part 4, and you're actually going to click UDLP Students Copy. And those actually have the students that you can pick. You need to pick 2 students to plan your lesson around. So essentially you're planning a whole group lesson, and then we're going to come in and accommodate for the 2 students you pick. So you can pick any 2 students, does not matter, and you're going to put them in part 4. You're going to describe their strengths and weaknesses based on that description, and then you're going to describe how you're going to group your students. Now, for your lessons, you might be grouping them in different ways. Like, for instance, if you start whole group, that's cool. That would probably be this grouping. But maybe then you break up into small groups. Maybe you're doing more direct instruction. Maybe you're doing a project, whatever it is. Maybe that you group them differently. Maybe you group them by ability. Maybe you group them by interest. Maybe you have some kids who are individual. Whatever it may be, just know that you can have more than one type of grouping in your lesson. So that's part 4. Part 5 is your classroom layout. So you're actually going to make a diagram of your classroom layout. You're going to label where your case study students are, and you're going to tell me why you put them there. So you could just draw it here using all of the word shapes, like a rectangle and maybe a circle for the desk or whatever it may be. You could also Google some classroom layout diagrams that can help you make that using software on the internet. Regardless, I just need a diagram. You can also draw it and scan it, and that would be totally fine too. Part 6 are just your resources and materials, so you'll just list those. Part 7, this is the big one. So this module for part 7 about how to actually plan a lesson is quite long. It's primarily about explicit instruction, and you are literally going to plan your entire lesson from start to finish in this section. So this is that week. This is the only section that's due. And so you'll see I linked the principles of effective instruction that's talked about in the module. You're going to identify prereq skills. You're going to tell me how you're going to hook them to be engaged with the lesson. Maybe if you're doing an animals lesson, maybe the hook is some kind of video about animals in the wild, and get their, do some kind of brainstorming activity before you do some kind of instruction. Then you're going to tell me how you're actually going to teach the skill. Then you're going to tell me how you're going to practice the skill with the students. This is probably fun games or activities. Then you're going to tell me how you're going to assess them. Now, your assessment is going to be aligned to two other parts of this plan. Your independent practice / assessment, which we call UDO, which again you'll learn in the modules, will be linked to this part, your summative. They will be the exact same thing. And I've already told you your lesson objective will be your summative. So all three of those will need to be aligned. So go back down. So that will be here. So you're literally just restating it. And remember, this document's fluid. So if you decide something in part 1 or part 2 and you need to change it because you've rethought things, or maybe it's not coming together as you had originally planned, but you're going in a different direction, that's totally fine too. This is meant to be fluid. And then you'll just describe your closure. Again, all of this will make sense once you do the modules that correspond to these parts every week. For part 8, this is really where you think about your case study students. So you're going to determine how you're going to differentiate. Think about the whole class. What do the whole class needs? Think about your 2 case study students. How are you going to accommodate, and if there needs to be any modifications. I go over the differences between these 2 words in the modules. Then you're going to think about questioning for Bloom's taxonomy. So you're going to write questions. Higher level questions, lower level recall type questions. You're going to write different questions for different kids. You're going to think about how you're going to enrich those kids who maybe think about those kids who are gifted and talented. How are you going to make the instruction enrich for them? Maybe that's some kind of other project that they could think about. It's usually not extra work. We're not punishing the gifted, talented kids by giving them extra. It's usually different. And remediation. What are you going to do if a kid's just not getting it? That's probably reteach y'all. And theorist. So you're going to pick a theorist. This is just a few of them. You're going to pick some, and you're going to write who you've picked and why you've picked and why it's important for this lesson. So I'm going to stop this video right here, and then I'll start another one explaining the logistics of all of this.